They offered the princess surrender, not knowing he had never held a blade. A king who ruled through fear took him, not as a guest, but as a warning. The court wanted him broken. The war demanded obedience. But when the prince begged not for love, only for mercy, something in the cruel king stopped, because the moment he touched him, he realized the enemy was never the prince, and breaking him would destroy the king instead. Chapter 1. The Prince Who Never Held a Blade. Prince Elyon had never held a sword. He did not look like someone born for war. His hands were slender, unmarked by calluses, fingers better suited to turning pages or cradling teacups than gripping steel. His beauty was quiet and unguarded, the kind that did not demand attention, yet drew it effortlessly. Pale lashes framed eyes the color of early morning skies, soft and clear, untouched by cruelty. When he smiled, it was gentle enough to disarm even the most guarded heart. Courtiers often said he looked like peace itself. His hair, fine and silver blonde, fell just past his shoulders, usually tied loosely with a ribbon rather than adorned with jewels. His features were delicate but not weak, high cheekbones, a graceful mouth, a face that carried warmth instead of command. When he walked through the palace halls, servants instinctively lowered their voices, not out of fear, but out of reverence, as if loud sounds might bruise something precious. Elyon was sheltered, yes, but not ignorant. He had been raised on kindness, taught that gentleness was a virtue and compassion a form of courage. His tutors had filled his days with poetry, music, and the art of listening. He learned how to soothe disputes with words instead of force, how to offer calm when others brought anger. Kindness is a strength, his mother once told him, smoothing his hair as they sat in the palace garden. The world may try to convince you otherwise. Elyon believed her. The war crept in quietly, like a shadow lengthening at dusk. At first it was distant, names of fallen cities whispered during council meetings, maps updated with red markings. Then it grew closer. Refugees flooded the capital, their faces hollow, their clothes stained with ash. Smoke lingered in the air long after battles ended, and at night, the palace trembled faintly from thunder that was not weather. Elyon walked among the wounded, his beauty drawing eyes even in suffering. Children reached for him. Soldiers lowered their gaze in embarrassment at their tears. He knelt beside them without hesitation, holding hands, whispering comfort, letting their grief cling to him like smoke. But beauty did not stop armies. The enemy king advanced relentlessly, a ruler whose name carried fear, whose victories were written in blood. Negotiations failed. Alliances crumbled. Every report spoke of the same truth: the kingdom was losing. The night the council convened, Elyon already sensed what was coming. The chamber was heavy with despair. Nobles whispered urgently, advisors stood rigid with pale faces, and his father sat upon the throne, as if the crown itself were crushing him. Elyon stood quietly to the side, hands folded, his calm presence a fragile contrast to the tension choking the room. "We cannot hold the capital," the general said at last. "Another siege, and we will be slaughtered." Silence followed. Then someone spoke. "There is an offer." Hope stirred weakly in Elyon's chest. "The enemy king will accept surrender," the counselor continued. "He will spare the city. The people will live." A breath was released, then caught again. "But there is a condition." Elyon felt the words before they were spoken. A chill settled deep within him. "The prince must be given to him," the man said quietly. "In marriage?" Gasps filled the room. Shock, horror. Elyon stood frozen, his heart pounding painfully against his ribs. Marriage. To the enemy king. To a man known for cruelty, for conquest, for breaking what was beautiful simply because he could. His father rose abruptly. "Absolutely not." Elyon stepped forward. Chapter 2. The king who shows no mercy. King Raiden was not born cruel. Cruelty was carved into him. From the day he took the throne, blood had followed his name like a shadow. Cities fell when he marched. Rebellions died in a single night. Mercy was spoken of as a weakness in his court, and Raiden had learned early that hesitation cost lives. His own, if not others. He ruled with precision, with fear, with a blade sharp enough to keep the world at bay. His face reflected it all. Dark hair worn loose and unadorned, eyes cold as iron, features cut hard by years of command. He did not smile. When he spoke, men listened not because they loved him, but because they feared the consequences of not obeying. Emotion had been sealed away long ago, buried beneath armor and duty. When the offer arrived, he did not rise from his throne. A marriage? One of his generals scoffed. They offer us silk when we demand surrender. Raiden's fingers tapped, once against the arm of his chair. The room fell silent. "Read it again," he said. The counselor swallowed and obeyed. They offer unconditional surrender, tribute, territory, and their prince. That caught his attention. "Their prince?" Raiden repeated, voice flat. "Yes, your majesty. In marriage." A murmur rippled through the chamber. Surprise, intrigue, thinly veiled amusement. Raiden leaned back slowly, gaze unfocused as he considered it. The enemy prince. He had heard of him, vaguely. A sheltered thing, too gentle, too beautiful to be taken seriously. A symbol of everything soft and fragile about the kingdom he was dismantling piece by piece. A perfect humiliation. "Accept," Raiden said at last. Relief flooded the room, quickly followed by something uglier, satisfaction. Nobles exchanged grins. One laughed outright. "To take their prince without raising another sword," one lord said. "Poetic. They surrender not only land," another added, "but dignity." Raiden said nothing. He did not need to. In his mind, the prince was already reduced to a concept, leverage. A decoration to parade before the court. Proof that even their most precious thing could be claimed. Weak? Decorative. Expendable. The wedding would end the war and begin a message no one would dare misunderstand. That night, the court celebrated. Wine flowed freely. Toasts were raised to victory, to dominance, to a union that would bind the enemy in chains more elegant than iron. Laughter echoed through the halls as nobles speculated openly about the prince's appearance, his fear, his obedience. "Do you think he'll cry?" one asked. "I hope so," another replied. "It would suit him." Raiden watched it all from his throne, expression unreadable. He did not join their laughter. He did not correct them either. Let them believe what they wished. To him, the prince was nothing more than the final seal on a conquered kingdom, a living reminder of who held power now. When the celebration finally thinned, Raiden rose and left without a word. In the quiet of his chambers, he removed his crown and set it aside. For a moment, only a moment, his reflection caught his eye. There was no triumph there, only emptiness. The marriage was decided. The enemy would be humiliated. The war would end. And the king who showed no mercy felt nothing at all. The sound of his footsteps echoed unnaturally loud as every gaze turned toward him. Some eyes held pity. Others held relief they were too ashamed to voice. Elian lifted his chin, tears burning behind his lashes, and smiled gently, soft, luminous, heartbreakingly calm. "If this will save them," he said quietly, "then I will do it." "No," his father whispered. "You are my son." Elian met his gaze, eyes shining. "And they are our people." He thought of the city, the children who smiled when they saw him, the wounded who clung to his hands, the servants who bowed not out of duty but affection. He thought of the gardens, the sunlight, the life he would never return to. He had never held a blade, but he could still be offered as one. "I will marry him," Ian said, his voice steady despite the tears slipping free. "Not for love, not for honor." The chamber fell silent. In that silence, the war ended, and Elian, beautiful, gentle, and unarmed, was surrendered to a king who would soon learn that some things cannot be conquered by force alone. Chapter 3. A Marriage Forged by Fear. King Raiden entered Elian's kingdom beneath banners of surrender. The gates stood open, the streets lined with soldiers who did not raise their eyes. The city felt hollow, as though it already mourned what it had lost. At the palace steps waited King Alaric, Elian's father, crowned, composed, and standing tall, despite the weight pressing into his chest. "King Raiden," Alaric said, inclining his head, "you are received according to our accord." Raiden dismounted slowly, his gaze sweeping the palace as if measuring how thoroughly it would bend. "Where is the prince?" he asked coolly. "I wish to see what I have been given." The words stung. Alaric did not step aside. "You will not." Raiden's eyes sharpened. "Explain yourself carefully." "It is our tradition," Alaric replied, voice firm though quiet. "Prince Elian may not meet his future spouse before the marriage ceremony, not face to face. It is a protection granted to him, one of the last I can still offer." A dangerous silence followed. Raiden studied Alaric as if considering whether to challenge him outright. "You think customs will shield him from what comes after?" "No," Alaric said honestly, "but I will not strip him of dignity before I must." For a moment, something flickered in Raiden's eyes. Irritation, perhaps curiosity, but it vanished as quickly as it came. "Very well," he said. "Hide him behind tradition if you wish. I will claim him soon enough." The wedding took place at twilight. The hall was vast and cold, stripped of warmth despite its grandeur. Conquest banners hung where family crests once had. Nobles from both kingdoms filled the space, their whispers already alive with anticipation. Prince Elian stood at the altar, his face veiled in sheer silver fabric. It was tradition. The veil softened his features, blurring the gentle beauty beneath, and hiding the fear he could not fully contain. His hands trembled beneath the long sleeves of his ceremonial robes, fingers clasped tightly as if holding himself together by force alone. He obeyed every custom. Each bow was perfect, each step measured. He spoke when spoken to, lowered his gaze when expected, and remained silent when silence was demanded. His heart raced painfully beneath the silk, but he did not falter. Across the hall, King Alaric watched, his jaw clenched, his eyes burning. He did not move. He did not intervene. He could only witness. The doors opened. King Raiden entered dressed in black, unadorned and severe. He did not slow when he reached the altar. His gaze passed over Elian's veiled form without interest, dismissive and cold, as though the prince were a ceremonial object rather than a living soul. Elian felt the indifference like a bruise. When their hands were joined for the vows, Raiden's touch was brief and impersonal. He did not lift the veil. He did not ask permission. He simply endured the ritual, sharp and distant, his voice flat as he spoke words meant to bind. Elian's voice shook beneath the veil, but he spoke clearly. Whispers slithered through the hall. Does he hide his face because he's afraid? Or because the king will enjoy revealing it later? The first night will be enlightening. Soft, eager laughter followed. When the ceremony ended, Raiden released Elian's hand at once and turned away without looking back. No kiss was given. No acknowledgement offered. The bells rang. The war was over, and beneath a veil of tradition and fear, a marriage forged without tenderness waited for the night to come. Chapter 4. The Court's Cruel Hunger. The carriage waited at the palace gates like a mouth already open. Its black lacquer gleamed beneath the fading light, bearing Raiden's sigil in cold silver. Soldiers stood at attention beside it, unmoving, impassive. There would be no delay, no mercy granted by time. Prince Elian stood at the top of the steps, his face still veiled, hands folded carefully before him. The fabric hid his expression, but not the way his shoulders trembled when he breathed. King Alaric stepped forward. He did not bow. Not to Raiden. Not now. Instead, he reached for his son. The guards tensed, but Raiden lifted a hand lazily, allowing it. Alaric's fingers closed around Elian's, warm, shaking, desperate. He leaned close, his voice breaking despite his effort to keep it steady. "Remember who you are," Alaric whispered. "No matter where they take you." Elian nodded beneath the veil. "I will come back," he said softly, even though they both knew it was a lie meant to comfort them both. Alaric pulled him into an embrace, brief but fierce, as if trying to carve the feeling into his bones. When he let go, his eyes were wet, his mouth set hard against grief. Raiden sighed audibly. "Are we finished?" he said, irritation threading his voice. "This sentiment changes nothing." Alaric straightened slowly. "He is still my son." Raiden rolled his eyes, turning toward the carriage. "Then you should have taught him the world is not kind." Elian did not look back as he was guided forward. The carriage door closed with a final, echoing thud. Raiden's palace loomed like a fortress carved from shadow. High walls swallowed the sky. Torches burned with sharp, steady flames, their light revealing stone that had never known softness. As Elian was led inside, whispers followed him like a current beneath the air. He kept his veil in place. Servants guided him through unfamiliar corridors, their hands careful but distant, as though he were fragile glass, or property too valuable to mishandle. They did not speak to him. They did not meet his eyes. Inside a chamber draped in dark silks, they stopped. "Prepare him," one murmured. Hands moved around Elian, loosening clasps, smoothing fabric, adjusting the veil so it fell perfectly. He stood still, obedient, heart racing. This was the room he had been warned about, the place where fear ended and expectation began. Beyond the door, voices carried. Laughter died. "Have you seen him?" a noble said openly. "Small thing, pretty as a porcelain doll." "He won't last," another replied. "They never do." A third voice, sharp with amusement. "The king should break him tonight, make an example of it." Elian's breath caught. "He must," someone agreed. "Otherwise the court will think him weak. Taking the prince means nothing if he doesn't claim him." Rough laughter followed. "Strip him of that softness. Teach him what conquest means." Elian pressed his hands together to stop their shaking. The veil hid the tears that slipped free, but not the terror flooding his chest. He felt small, exposed, trapped in a place where his fear was entertainment. Elsewhere, Raiden listened. The nobles surrounded him in the council chamber, voices loud with wine and victory. They spoke freely, crudely, unafraid. "The first night will cement everything," one said. "Do not show restraint. Mercy would be a mistake," another added. "He must learn his place." Raiden did not respond. He sat back in his chair, expression unreadable, fingers curled loosely around the armrest. He did not agree. He did not disagree. It was easier not to think. Easier to let cruelty remain a habit rather than a choice. When the voices finally faded and the chamber emptied, silence returned. But it did not bring peace. In the chamber prepared for him, Prince Elian stood alone, veiled, shaking, listening to footsteps approach. The court's hunger had been voiced, and the night was coming. Chapter 5. The first night, the knock came just after the candles were lit. Alien was already standing, hands clasped so tightly his fingers ached, veil drawn low over his face. His heart pounded with a violence that made his vision blur. "It is time," a servant said softly. Alien nodded and followed. The king's chambers were vast and dim, shadows clinging to the stone walls as candles burned low and steady. The bed stood at the center of the room, dark, imposing, unavoidable. The air smelled faintly of smoke and iron. King Raiden stood near the window, his back turned. The servants withdrew. The doors closed. The sound echoed like a sentence being carried out. Alien remained where he was, breath shallow, fear pressing in from every side. He remembered the laughter, the whispers, the court's hunger. His body already felt bruised by expectation alone. Raiden turned. He crossed the chamber in slow, deliberate steps. The sound of his approach shattered what little control Alien had left. Before the king could reach him, Alien's knees buckled. He sank to the cold stone floor, shoulders folding inward, hands clutching at his robes as though he could hold himself together by force alone. "Please," he sobbed, the word breaking apart as it left his mouth. "Please, I'll obey. I'll do whatever you want. I won't resist. I won't make a sound. Just don't hurt me." His breath came in ragged gasps beneath the veil. "I'm begging you," Alien whispered, voice raw and trembling. "Please don't touch me. I don't think I could survive it." Raiden stopped directly in front of him. For a long moment, he said nothing. "Get up," Raiden said at last, voice rough. Alien obeyed at once, rising shakily to his feet, eyes lowered. Then, slowly, he reached down. His fingers caught the edge of the veil and lifted it from Alien's face. The fabric slid away, light and soundless. Candlelight revealed a face stripped of all defenses, tear-streaked skin, lashes clumped with tears, lips trembling as Alien struggled to breathe. His eyes were wide, terrified, holding no defiance, no seduction, only fear. Raiden froze. Not at beauty, at how utterly breakable Alien looked. "Look at me," Raiden said quietly. Alien obeyed, shaking from head to toe. "The court will not believe restraint," Raiden said, jaw tight. "They expect proof. They expect you to look claimed." Alien's breath hitched sharply, panic flaring anew. "I will not force you," Raiden said firmly, as if carving the words into stone. "I will not take you." Alien stared at him, disbelief cutting through terror. "I will leave a mark on your neck," Raiden continued. "Only that, something visible, something that will silence them." Silence stretched between them. "I swear to you," Raiden said, slower now, voice rough with something dangerously close to restraint breaking. "I will not hurt you." Alien trembled, tears spilling freely. He nodded, not because the fear was gone, but because hope, fragile and desperate, had slipped through it. Raiden stepped closer. "Turn your head," he said quietly. Alien squeezed his eyes shut and obeyed, exposing the side of his neck. His whole body shook, breath stuttering as he braced for pain that never came. The contact was brief, controlled, careful. When Raiden stepped back, Alien nearly collapsed again, clutching at his robes as silent sobs shook through him, fear draining, shock taking its place. "It's done," Raiden said. He turned away at once, as though lingering would fracture something he was barely holding together. "You will take the bed. I will not touch you again." Alien climbed onto the mattress fully clothed, curling inward beneath the heavy covers, tears soaking into the fabric. He was still afraid, but he was alive. Across the room, Raiden lay on the couch, staring into the darkness, fists clenched. Two men shared the same night, one broken open by fear, the other shaken by the moment cruelty finally demanded a choice. Chapter 6. The morning after silence, dawn crept into the king's chambers without ceremony. Thin light slipped between heavy curtains, settling across stone and shadow, touching the edge of the bed where Prince Alien lay curled beneath the covers. He woke slowly, body stiff and aching, breath catching in his throat before memory returned all at once. The night, the fear, the promise. For a panicked heartbeat, he waited for anger, for voices, for punishment. Nothing came. The room was quiet, too quiet. Alien shifted cautiously, every muscle tense, and lifted his head just enough to look across the chamber. King Raiden lay on the narrow couch near the wall, fully clothed, one arm flung over his eyes as though even sleep had been a battle he refused to surrender to. He had not moved. He had not come near the bed. Exactly as promised. Alien's chest loosened with a shaky breath he hadn't realized he was holding. Relief mingled with exhaustion until his eyes burned. He turned his face into the pillow, grounding himself in the simple fact of survival. A soft knock broke the silence. Before Alien could respond, the door opened and servants entered quietly, eyes lowered. They froze for the briefest moment when they saw him awake, then approached with careful efficiency. "Your Highness," one murmured, hesitant. As they helped him sit up, a servant reached to adjust the collar of his robe. She stilled. Her eyes flicked, just once, to the mark on his neck. It was faint, already darkening into something unmistakable. The servant bowed deeply, quickly masking her expression, but Alien saw it all the same. Respect edged with pity. The others noticed too. Their movements softened, their voices lowered. No one asked questions. They did not need to. By the time Alien was dressed and escorted from the chamber, the palace already knew. Breakfast in the great hall was loud with satisfaction. Nobles leaned close together, whispering behind hands and goblets, their eyes sliding openly toward Alien as he entered beside the king. "There," one murmured. "You see," claimed, another said with a pleased smile. As expected. Speculation followed, crude and careless, but dulled now, no longer hungry, only approving. The spectacle they had demanded had been delivered, at least in appearance. Raiden said nothing. He took his seat at the head of the table, posture rigid, expression cold. He did not look at Alien, did not acknowledge the mark or the whispers. From the outside he looked every inch the king they wanted him to be. Unyielding, victorious, dominant. The pressure eased. For now. Inside, Raiden felt none of it. The memory of Alien shaking on the stone floor clung to him like smoke. The sound of his begging echoed far louder than the noble's laughter. He kept his gaze fixed forward, jaw tight, refusing to let even a flicker of that memory show. Cruelty was a role he could still play. Gentleness was the danger. After the meal, Alien was led away. New chambers awaited him, not a cell, not a prison, but not a home either. The rooms were quiet, removed from the main corridors, furnished with careful restraint. Beautiful, in a way that felt intentional rather than kind. He thanked the servant softly and was left alone. Alien moved through the space slowly, as if sudden motion might draw attention. He sat where he was told. He spoke only when spoken to. He learned the angles of the windows, the sounds of the palace at different hours. The mark on his neck burned, not with pain, but with shame. It was proof of survival, yes, but also proof of how little choice he truly had. Later, in a quiet corridor, it happened. Raiden passed him without ceremony, flanked by guards. For a moment, Alien expected him to continue on, unseeing, unfeeling. Instead, the king stopped, just long enough. No one else was close enough to hear. "You are safe," Raiden said quietly, without turning. The words were clipped, almost harsh, as if softened language would be a mistake. "As long as I rule, no one will touch you." No apology followed. No explanation. Then he walked on. Elian stood frozen for several seconds before he remembered how to breathe. The court watched. Eyes followed Elian wherever he went, measuring, judging, waiting. Kindness would be noticed. Weakness would be exploited. The illusion had to hold. Elian understood that now. That night, he stood at the window of his chambers, looking out over a city that was not his own. The rooftops stretched endlessly, unfamiliar and cold beneath the stars. He pressed his fingers to the glass. Survival was no longer just obedience. It was learning the shape of the man who frightened him, and the limits of the mercy he did not yet understand. And somewhere deep within that silence, Elian realized something unsettling. The king who terrified him might also be the only thing standing between him and the court's cruelty. Chapter 7. The Seed of Jealousy. Elian learned the palace by listening. He moved through its halls quietly, steps light, voice softer than the stone walls that surrounded him. He followed every rule given, bowed when expected, spoke only when spoken to. Obedience had become instinct, a language he spoke fluently now. Yet, something began to change. Servants lingered when they brought his meals. They adjusted his cloak a second longer than necessary. One left a small vase of fresh flowers by his window without explanation. Another whispered, "Rest well, Your Highness," with a warmth that felt almost dangerous. Elian noticed. He did not question it. He did not encourage it. He accepted kindness the way one accepts sunlight through glass, carefully, afraid it might shatter. But others noticed too. Raiden heard Elian's name spoken in lowered tones as he passed through the corridors. "He never raises his voice," a guard murmured once. "He thanks us," a servant said another time. Surprised, almost reverent. "So gentle," someone whispered. "Even after everything." The words followed Raiden like an irritation he could not shake. Gentle. The palace had not been gentle to anyone in years. During a formal court session, Elian stood at the king's side as protocol demanded. He kept his gaze lowered, hands folded, posture perfect. The mark on his neck had faded to a faint shadow, but its memory still clung to him. A foreign envoy stepped forward, smiling too easily. "A remarkable prince," the man said, his eyes lingering openly on Elian. "Your Majesty has taken something rare, beauty untouched by arrogance. Gentleness like that is not easily found." The court murmured in agreement. Elian flushed, embarrassment creeping up his neck. He bowed his head slightly, unsure how to respond. Raiden felt something twist sharply in his chest. The sound of approval. The way the man looked at Elian. The ease with which he spoke of him, as though Elian were something to be admired, assessed, claimed. "Enough," Raiden snapped. The room fell silent. He turned sharply toward Elian. "You are dismissed. Leave." The words were cold. Final, die. Public. Elian startled. His breath caught, shame blooming painfully in his chest. He bowed quickly, too deeply, and stepped away without looking back. The court watched him go. Raiden did not. He stared straight ahead, jaw clenched, pulse pounding in a way that made no sense. Why did it matter? Why did the thought of others seeing Elian, wanting him, burn like an insult? He did not have an answer. Only irritation. Only control slipping where it never had before. Later that evening, a message was delivered to Elian. By royal order, he was to remain within the inner quarters of the palace. Public appearances were to be limited. For his own safety, Elian read the words twice. Safety. The word felt hollow. He folded the message carefully, hands trembling, and sat by the window as dusk fell. Below, the palace moved on without him, Voices, footsteps, life continuing at a distance. He pressed his forehead to the cool glass. So this was the price of being noticed. Not protection. Confinement. And somewhere else in the palace, King Raiden stood alone, unsettled by the truth he refused to name. That jealousy had taken root long before he understood it, and Alien's absence already felt like something taken from him. Chapter 8. The Weight of Misunderstanding. Alien learned how to disappear. After the king's order, he stayed within the inner quarters, moving only when summoned, speaking only when required. He kept his head bowed, his steps careful, his presence small. The servants still offered quiet kindness, but Alien no longer met their eyes. Kindness, he had learned, could be mistaken for invitation, and invitation for offense. He believed he had displeased the king. The thought settled deep and heavy in his chest, shaping every breath he took. He replayed the moment in court again and again, the envoy's words, the way Raiden's voice had cut through the room sharp as a blade. Dismissed. Alien avoided him after that. When Raiden entered a room, Alien found a reason to leave. When summoned, he answered with flawless politeness and nothing more. He spoke softly, briefly, and never first. If the king looked his way, Alien lowered his gaze immediately, as if reminding himself of his place. Raiden noticed. He mistook the distance for fear. Or worse, resentment. The change unsettled him more than Alien's former silence ever had. He watched the prince retreat into himself, his shoulders folding inward, his voice barely audible when it reached the edges of a room. It looked too much like submission, and too much like rejection. The court noticed too. Whispers crept back into the halls. The king has grown bored. He claimed him and discarded him. It was inevitable. Soft things never last. The words reached Alien in fragments, carried by stone and shadow. Each one struck like a reminder. Safety was temporary. Interest even more so. During a minor gathering, a formality more than a celebration, Alien was summoned to stand among the nobles. He obeyed, standing quietly at the edge of the room, hands folded, eyes lowered. A noble stepped closer than necessary. "Your Highness," the man said lightly, voice carrying just enough to be heard. "You've been absent. Has the king lost interest already?" A few chuckles followed. Alien's face burned. He opened his mouth to respond, then closed it again. Silence was safer. That mark faded quickly, the noble continued, gaze lingering. Perhaps it was never real to begin with. Laughter this time, soft, sharp. Alien flinched. Before he could step back, the room shifted. Raiden had arrived. He took in the scene too late. The lingering eyes, the unfinished laughter, Alien standing rigid and humiliated. Anger surged through him, hot and immediate, but he did not aim it where it belonged. "What is this?" Raiden snapped. The noble stepped back at once, but Raiden's gaze locked onto Alien instead. "Have I not given you enough instruction?" the king said coldly, his voice carrying across the room. "You stand here inviting attention, embarrassing yourself in this court." Alien's breath caught. I'm sorry," he whispered, instinctive, broken. "Enough," Raiden said sharply. "You are dismissed. Learn when to be silent." The words landed like a blow. The court watched, some with satisfaction, some with pity. No one intervened. Alien bowed, deep, precise, and left without a sound. He did not stop walking until he reached his chambers. There, behind closed doors, he sank to the floor, back against the bed, breath coming in short, painful bursts. Tears spilled freely, soaking into his sleeves as his shoulders shook. He had been wrong. Wrong to feel safe. Wrong to believe restraint meant care. Wrong to think protection was anything more than temporary tolerance. Survival, he realized, meant expecting nothing. Not kindness, not mercy, not even protection, only endurance. And as Elian curled inward, silent and shaking, the distance between him and the king widened, not by cruelty alone, but by misunderstanding neither of them yet knew how to name. Chapter 9. Cruelty breaks and truth bleeds. The palace corridors were never truly empty. Elian learned this the hard way. He had been sent for, summoned by a minor counselor on the pretense of routine matters. It was late, later than usual, and the halls were quieter than they should have been. Elian walked carefully, hands folded, mind fixed on obedience. He did not notice the guards were absent until it was too late. A hand caught his wrist and pulled him sharply into an alcove. Elian gasped, stumbling, his back hitting cold stone. The noble's face was too close, breath thick with wine and entitlement. "You walk alone now," the man murmured. "The king has little use for you these days." Elian tried. The grip tightened. "Let go," he said softly, panic creeping into his voice. "Please." The noble laughed. "Do you know what happens when interest fades? When protection grows thin?" Another shadow shifted behind him. Elian's heart slammed violently against his ribs. He did not scream. He could not. Steel rang against stone. The sound exploded through the corridor. The noble was ripped away from Elian so violently he struck the wall hard enough to crack stone. Blood followed immediately, bright, sudden, horrifying. Another man tried to flee. He did not get far. Raiden moved like something unleashed. There was no restraint, no mercy, only fury. The king's blade flashed once, twice, too fast to follow. Bones broke. A body hit the floor and did not rise. Guards rushed in, freezing at the sight before them. "Enough," one dared to whisper. Raiden did not hear. It took Elian's voice to stop him. "Please." The word cut through the violence like glass. Raiden froze, chest heaving, blade dripping red. He turned. Elian stood where he had been left, pressed against the wall, shaking so badly he could barely stay upright. His face was pale, eyes wide, not with horror at the blood, but with shock at how close he had come to being lost in it. The corridor was silent. The court gathered in stunned fragments, faces pale, mouths closed, fear thick in the air. Raiden looked at Elian, and something in him broke. "You should not have been alone," he snarled, rage boiling over. "I told them." "I didn't ask for protection," Elian said. The words were soft. They landed like a blow. Raiden turned fully toward him. "What?" Elian's hands trembled at his sides, but he did not lower his gaze this time. His voice shook, but it held. "I never asked you to protect me," Elian said quietly. "I only asked for mercy." Silence stretched, raw and dangerous. "I don't want fear traded for another kind of cage," Elian continued, tears burning but unfallen. "I don't need cruelty aimed elsewhere on my behalf. His breath hitched. "I just wanted to be spared." Raiden stared at him, something wild and fractured in his eyes. "You think this is cruelty?" he snapped, gesturing sharply at the blood on the floor. "You think I would stand by and watch you be touched, broken, because of court games?" His voice cracked. "I lose control?" he admitted harshly, as if the words tasted like poison. "The thought of them laying hands on you, of anyone believing they can." He stopped himself, jaw clenched hard enough to hurt. Elian saw it then. The line. The place where the king's cruelty ended, and something dangerous, fierce, and protective began. "I don't need you to destroy the world for me," Elian said softly. "I just need you not to destroy me." For a long moment Raiden said nothing. Then he turned sharply toward the watching nobles, his voice ringing through the corridor like judgment. "This ends now," he said. "Prince Elian answers to me alone. Any who approach him without my command will answer in blood." No one spoke. No one dared. Raiden sheathed his blade and looked back at Elian, not with anger this time, but with something raw and unsettled. "Go," he said quietly. "I will have guards posted. No one will touch you." Elian nodded, heart still racing, and walked away on unsteady legs. Behind him, the court remained frozen in fear. And for the first time, Elian understood the truth beneath the king's violence. Raiden's cruelty did not begin where Elian stood. It ended there. Chapter 10. The King Who Learned to Be Gentle. Time passed. Not quickly, not cleanly, but steadily. The palace changed with it. Raiden no longer summoned Elian to stand silent beside him like proof of conquest. He no longer dismissed him sharply in public or used distance as a blade. When Elian spoke, Raiden listened. When others spoke over him, Raiden stopped them with a look alone. Protection came quietly now. A guard repositioned before Elian reached a crowded corridor. A noble's cutting remark died in their throat before it ever reached sound. Orders were given without Elian's name attached to them, but always for his sake. The court noticed. Mockery faded first, then curiosity, then fear. Because kindness from a cruel king was more unsettling than cruelty ever had been. Elian noticed too. He began to breathe more easily. His shoulders no longer curled inward by instinct. He lifted his gaze when spoken to, and sometimes, when no one expected it, he met Raiden's eyes and did not look away. He spoke more. Not loudly, not boldly, but honestly. He expressed preferences. He disagreed, softly, once or twice. And each time Raiden did not punish him for it. Instead he considered. The distance between them changed shape. One evening, long after the court had retired, Elian found Raiden alone in the solar, staring out at the city below. For once, Elian did not turn away. "May I stay?" he asked. Raiden nodded. They stood in silence for a while, side by side but not touching. The quiet no longer felt like a threat. Finally, Raiden spoke. "I don't know how to be gentle," he said, the words rough, unpolished. "Everything I was taught says it makes me weak." Elian folded his hands together, considering. "Gentleness isn't weakness," he said softly. "It's restraint." Raiden looked at him then. Really looked. "I want to learn," the king said. "If you'll let me." The admission cost him something. It showed in the tension of his jaw, the way his hands curled as if bracing for refusal. Elian felt the weight of it, and did not turn away. "I don't fear you anymore," Elian said quietly. "But I still fear losing myself." Raiden nodded once. Then we moved slowly, or not at all. It was not a vow. It was a choice. Their intimacy grew in glances first, in shared silences, in trust earned inch by inch. When Raiden reached for Elian's hand weeks later, he stopped short, waiting. Elian closed the distance himself. The touch was light, reverent, real. No court watched them then. No proof was demanded. What grew between them did not need witnesses. The marriage shifted. What had begun as survival became consent. What had been restraint became devotion. On the day Elian stood beside Raiden before the court once more, he did so with his head high. Not veiled, not silent, not afraid. He was no longer a captive. He was a king's equal. The war had ended with surrender. But love began with restraint, and was built by the king who learned, at last, how to be gentle. Chapter 11. First Intimacy. The decision came quietly. There was no ceremony, no command, no court waiting beyond the walls. Only the steady hush of night and two men standing in the same room without fear between them. Elian spoke first. "I am not here because I must be," he said, voice calm despite the weight of the moment. "I am here because I choose to be." Raiden studied him carefully, not as a ruler weighing obedience, but as a man guarding something fragile. "Then we stop the moment that choice changes," he replied. "Even if it is only a breath from now." Elian nodded. "The same for you." That was the agreement. Simple. Equal. They moved closer together, slowly, each step deliberate. When Raiden lifted his hand, he paused halfway, waiting. Elian closed the distance himself, placing his hand over the king. The touch was warm, steady, grounding. Nothing was rushed. Raiden's presence no longer felt like a storm, only weight and warmth and restraint held firmly in place. Elian leaned into him, resting his forehead against Raiden's chest, listening to the steady beat beneath. It calmed something deep inside him, something that had been braced for pain for far too long. "You can stop me," Raiden said softly. "I know," Elian answered. "That's why I'm not afraid." Their first kiss was brief and careful, more promise than desire. It carried no hunger, only certainty. When Raiden's arms came around Elian, they did so gently, leaving space to breathe, to retreat if needed. Elian did not retreat. What followed was quiet and private, built on trust rather than need. No urgency demanded more. No fear shadowed the closeness they shared. They moved at the pace of understanding, learning each other not through conquest, but through care. When the night deepened and the world narrowed to warmth and closeness, nothing was taken from Elian. And nothing was forced from Raiden. By morning, the bond between them had shifted, not into possession, but into something chosen, something earned. The marriage, once forged by fear, had crossed a line it could never return from. Not into captivity, but into consent.